Look upon the mountain.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. My name is Mike Taglavia. My co-host is Alison Despathy. Good morning, Alison. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning. Happy sunshine again. We're really coming in.
Yeah, it's really looking great out there.
It's
I'm really
good,
liking
yes.
that. It looks like spring is here. You never can tell.
No.
We've got to get to, I say, second week of May before we're in the clear for sure.
When you can put the garden in.
Yeah. So, or put your vegetables outside anyway.
Right.
So we've got a lot to cover as usual. We'll probably cover some more 181 stuff toward the end of this the program. But I wanted to start off with something that's very disturbing here in Chittenden County. Again, nothing disturbing in Chittenden County, right?
Watch out.
How many people have I just ticked off right about now?
That's okay. We all deserve it sometimes.
Yeah. So this story was picked up by Vermont Daily Chronicle in the crime section. This is by Mike Donahue, Vermont News First. Sarah George gives pass to 6 anti-ICE protesters police arrested last month. Okay, Vermont's 2 top state law enforcement officers blasted Chittenden County States Attorney Sarah George on Wednesday for a decision giving a pass to 6 protesters arrested during a botched ICE-led attempt to capture an illegal immigrant during day-long disturbance in South Burlington on March 11. George announced that she was taking no action on the 3 arrests made by Vermont State Police, and 3 people arrested by Burlington Police will be given a chance to participate in the Burlington Community Justice Center for a restorative process.
Dangerous.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. George did not make clear in her news release sent to Vermont News First on why she was providing different treatment in handling the criminal cases sent by the 2 police agencies. Interim Burlington Police Chief Sean Burke said Wednesday that George had made his department aware that she was referring their arrest to an alternative justice. As a result, BPD will not be participating in the restorative process, Burke said in a statement to Vermont News First. The stiffest rebuke for George's inaction on Wednesday may have come from Vermont Public Safety Commissioner Jennifer Morrison and longtime Vermont State Police Director Colonel Matthew Birmingham. They noted that the lawbreakers at the scene in South Burlington had told the arresting officers that Sarah George was on their side and they would never face criminal charges. The comments were caught on police body cameras, officials said.
That is so disturbing.
Well,
no
Sarah George has affirmed their belief.
That is
really and I'll
disturbing.
let you read a little bit of the quote that you wanted
to plug in here. Exactly. So
yeah.
Public Safety Commissioner Jennifer Morrison and Vermont State Police Director Colonel Matthew T. Birmingham today issued the following statement, and this is regarding the March 11th incident on Dorset Street in South Burlington. So they said, Chittenden County States Attorney Sarah George's recent statement just gave permission for people at large gatherings to obstruct police officers and interfere with arrests. This is a disheartening decision that sets a dangerous precedent. State's Attorney George has a vastly different vision from our own for what public safety and the rule of law looks like. She has missed an opportunity to delineate between the lawful conduct the First Amendment protects and the lawlessness of criminal behavior that escalates volatile situations and harms communities. Now that is spot on calling it out.
It definitely
I mean,
is.
it's horrendous pattern for her to not be dealing with this and allowing it to then happen again.
Yeah,
I mean, good thing somebody was not really hurt or killed.
Well, there were officers actually hurt during this. But this is from a state's attorney who has actually publicly advocated for taxpayer-funded restitution for crimes. For theft.
Right.
This is crazy. This is a person a state's attorney who declined to prosecute Ida Garung, I think that's how you pronounce.
Ida Garung. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Who was eventually convicted by T.J. Donovan?
That was
Have you-
T.J. Donovan prior
T.J.
to
Donovan,
Charity
okay.
Clark, right.
Yes.
Right.
Phil Scott directed the Attorney General to pursue the case, and he was convicted of murder. I don't remember whether it was first or second degree, in a violent hacking death
Yes. Oh.
of his wife, and he critically injured his mother-in-law in that attack, a bloody attack that occurred in broad daylight.
But to have a state's attorney, someone in that position who is unwilling to prosecute, I mean,
Yeah.
what does that say for the rule of law in Vermont and for public safety? That's
Well, yeah.
absolutely not what we need. I mean, I think we all understand there's different levels of crime and there's drugs involved and there's abuse and trauma and mental health issues that we can deal with. But in cases like this, I mean, you just can't let it go.
It's just inviting more trouble.
Yes.
If there ever is another situation like this, it's going to draw even more people to a volatile situation already.
And to embolden them.
To embolden them.
Yes.
And to actually put more law enforcement officers whose job it is to maintain order.
Yes, which they did beautifully. I mean, all the reports, everything that you heard of the joint committee meetings, of how they conducted themselves, I mean, amazing. And then for them to be disrespected and treated and hurt.
And then people will be wondering why VSP and Burlington PD will be having trouble finding qualified recruits.
Right.
Willing recruits.
That is not what we want and need in
Well,
Vermont, absolutely.
that is a big step in the wrong direction, a big step into the abyss of lawlessness.
And it also just, brings me back to the fact that, unfortunately, for what it's worth, my personal opinion, people like Sarah George who really believe in some level of utopia. And you know what? It just does not exist. It's not real. There's always going to be predators and people who take advantage of situations. And they need to be prosecuted and they need to be put in their place so that that does not happen in our communities.
And I just want to remind our listeners that State's Attorney from Chittenden County, let's see, back in November of 2022, attended a Harvard forum where, what was the name of the forum? Change from Within, a New Vision for the 21st Century Prosecutor. Doesn't sound very good.
No.
Let's see. This article is from January 4, 2024. In Vermont Daily Chronicle, State's Attorney Sarah George tells Harvard Forum she, quote, went to law school to dismantle the criminal legal system, end quote.
Can you say that again, Mike?
She, quote, went to law school to dismantle the criminal legal system. And like I said, if you wanted to find this article, this is from Vermont Daily Chronicle, dated January 4, 2024.
I remember when Mike Bolowski was covering this. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So in the article, it actually shows the quotations and when. She speaks at the forum starting at about 9:30, 28:40, and 1 hour and 6 minutes and 20 seconds in the video. At the start, she says, I got my master's in forensic, this is a quote, I got my master's in forensic psychology, and during that program, became very aware of the injustices in our justice system. So I went to law school because I wanted to dismantle the criminal legal system and thought that was the best way to do it, end quote.
So disturbing. And of course, we know there's issues in every sort of system, but to dismantle the criminal legal system.
Yeah.
This is extremism.
It is very extreme. She admits to stacking her office with like-minded public defenders. So, quote, so I was able to get rid of the prosecutors that were in the office that I felt were harming our community and replace them with public defenders that I knew I wouldn't have to convince why we were going to do things differently, end quote, George said.
And then you get protesters or people who are interfering with the ICE situation on Dorset Street, and then look what happens. And then they're saying that she's not going to, they feel protected and they feel, brave to go ahead and interfere in a situation like this. I mean, that's so dangerous. It's obviously completely illegal and should not be allowed to happen.
With everything that we've seen come out of Chittenden County and Burlington, the city of Burlington, we had great gains made with the accountability court that Governor Scott helped to set up with extra judges, extra time. I can't remember if it was one judge or more than one.
To try
but
to help it
they
along,
actually
right?
cleared the docket. They made things move.
And we want to have compassion, but we also really need a functional rule of law if we
Okay,
don't want to see
but there's
crime.
a quote. I can't remember if it was Adam Smith. Let me see if I can remember. What the heck was it now? Oh, shoot.
There's been a lot of good things said
Yeah,
about
there
it,
were,
that's
you know,
for sure.
I'll remember it. But leniency toward the guilty is cruelty toward the innocent.
There you
it's
go.
basically
That's
that.
it.
I don't remember that's it exactly.
But then who takes the hit in that case? It's the victim, right? And then the
Right.
victims just take more
Right.
and more of a hit.
Yeah,
right?
what do we do? What do we do for victim services? What do we do for the families of the victims?
Can I actually speak to that with there was, I think, some of the most heart-wrenching testimony that I have heard in the Corrections and Institutions Committee. And Tammy Carboni came in and testified. Her husband was killed by a habitual offender, and this was down in Tinmouth, and this was 10 years ago.
Right.
And the man who drove into him, and there's a video
I know.
camera.
Yeah, one of my
And she came, and the driver came out. He came out and he took the body and shoved it aside and kept driving. And this was on her video recorder. And long story short, it's so heartbreaking. She shared this with the committee. He had 33 misdemeanors. He had 9 felonies. He didn't have a license because he had, I think, about 13 DUIs prior. He was driving and her husband was killed, and he's now serving for 19 years in prison. And the bill, H-252, that she testified to is trying to make it so you cannot get earned time to get out sooner if you
Right.
have a multiple number of felonies.
habitual
especially
offenders,
specific-
should not get earned time. Right.
Right. And I just want to say, just back on what you were just talking about, Mike, with
Mercy
regards
to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent. That's the
Okay,
quote.
That's the quote. And so her, Tammy's quotes in her testimony. So she said, the reason she was doing this, even though her husband's been dead for 10 years, because public safety and peace of mind for victims, quote. This is why
Yep.
she's doing it. She also said specifically, quote, please do better for victims. We truly do feel forgotten. And another quote that she had in there, I wrote these down after listening to her testimony. If there are no consequences, things don't change. And this is exactly back to the
she's
Sarah
absolutely
George.
correct. She's
Right.
absolutely correct.
I know. And I just also
what
want to
happened-
say.
what happened in the
Yeah, this
committee?
was a fascinating, oh my gosh, in the committees, it's like, a lot of times people don't understand the level. Like, obviously, you're going through it in House environment with Act
Oh, yeah.
181 right now, and
Yeah.
that's getting really, but it's the honesty coming through. So what happened in this committee with Tammy Carboni's testimony, it was very raw, it was very honest, it was very upsetting. And what ended up happening, and I want to say this bill, H-252, it
Mm-hmm.
is tripartisan bill. It had maybe about 50 co-sponsors on it.
50, and it only, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, sorry to interrupt
go,
you.
go.
It had 50 co-sponsors. It
Just
only
under, yep.
needs 76 to pass.
Yes.
It needs 76 votes on the floor of the House to pass.
And this
okay?
was brought by Chris Pritchard, amazing Republican
Representative
from, what's his town? Is he Paulette?
Paulette.
Yeah.
He represents, I think, like 7 towns,
Paulette,
small towns
Tinmouth,
in
yeah.
southern.
So he brought this
Vermont.
forward,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, Chair Emmons in Corrections and Institutions, they never brought it to the table. But I will tell you what happened is, after hearing this testimony by Tammy, Representative Greer, a Democrat from Bennington, was so moved. The whole committee was so moved, like, what are we doing? We have to do something about this. And then he made a motion out of nowhere. We're going to bring this to the table. Let's vote on this.
Yeah.
And then Representative Gina Galfetti from Burlington. So you've got this sort of, she seconded it. You've got a
Right.
motion, you've got a second, 2 different parties. And then Chair Emmons said, oh, we're going to go to a break. Like, we need to reassess this. And it never moved anywhere. But what it shows us is people are concerned about public safety. Victims are taking a hit, and that is absolutely not okay. And there's stuff that has to be done.
There absolutely is stuff that needs to be done. And thankfully, a lot of people are becoming more and more aware, more civically minded.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, indeed.
thankfully, that's happening. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to take a break. Pay pay some bills. We shall return. You're listening to Right Side Up. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. My name is Mike Taglavia. My co-host today is Alison Despathy. Alison, you had something you wanted to bring up and talk about, so I'm just going to let you take it away. It's something that it's definitely something that a lot of people are going to be interested in, so
yeah, we'll see. And there's sort of a few paths with it, but I think the starting point is, we both like, obviously, Vermont Daily Chronicle, Free Speech Forever.
Yeah.
They do a lot of good work. And so Annette Smith, Executive Director of Vermonters for a Clean Environment, she has an article in there posted for today, Throwing People into the Volcano is her article. And so what is she talking about? Okay. So obviously human sacrifice ideally has been gone and done for a long time, but I don't know. She's making the connection that not really. And so what we're talking about
because
here,
of testimony that was in one of the committees.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yes. Okay.
So we'll go back to that in just a second. So this is the name of her article, and I just want to give some background here. Okay. So House Energy Digital Infrastructure Committee. This is Chair Kathleen James, Vice Chair Scott Campbell, two Democrats. And in the beginning of the session, there was a bill, and it was essentially telecom siting. That's the focus. Where are we putting this stuff, right?
Section 248A?
This is Section 248A. And is it going to sunset? At the Public Utility Commission. So this is at the Public Utility Commission. And so Section 248A basically governs telecom siting. Where do we put our towers and all of this infrastructure? We're dependent on it. We know we need this for communication, but where are these things going to go? And so basically the bottom line was, is Section 248 going to sunset, meaning telecom siting would go back through Act 250, or is it going to continue at the Public Utility Commission? And I just want to tell you, so bottom line, 10 to 100 times greater levels of radio frequency radiation allowed in this country compared to any other country. We know there are harms. There is absolutely tremendous.
So as advanced as this country is, we're behind the eight ball when it comes to
honesty,
acknowledging
and transparency around
the
this.
RF energy potential harms.
Yes, the RF radiation harms. There is thousands and thousands of peer-reviewed articles. We know there are harms. We know there are cancer risks, etc. We all use this. We're dependent on it. So what are we going to do? So the question that's been coming up is how do we have a good public process and acknowledge there's harms to this? And if you put a tower right near someone's house, you're going to drop even if you don't care about the harm, because some people don't, but it's real, you're going to drop somebody's property value by about 30%. So that's a whole other thing. Like, what sort of a level of a taking are we talking about there, right?
Right.
So this is just about being very honest about where are we going to put these towers? And are there setbacks from people's homes and businesses? Where do we want them? So I just have to tell you, Mike, amazing testimony that happened early in the session in House Energy Committee. Awesome testimony from towns, from municipalities, from people who are affected and trying to participate in this process, which involves money and lawyers at the PUC and is a very very heavily litigated, very contested cases. It's not a good process. So basically we're trying to say, we got to figure this out for Vermont. Kathleen James and her committee ended up dropping the ball big time. She said, we have taken extensive testimony. And this is after all of them saying, we are enraged and we're irritated and acknowledging we have a real problem. And then it was so difficult and painful to see because, unfortunately, Chair James reached a point and she said, we've taken extensive testimony and the Senate will have to fix this. We have other things to get on to. We've got a lot of work to do. So she pushed it off to the Senate, even though no one was happy with it. This was a telecom industry. The way that the bill ended up coming out of her committee, it was in favor of the telecom industry. Public Utility Commission said this. They didn't like it. Nobody liked it.
So I'm going to interrupt here. The whole idea and the setup of our governing system with the two branches, the two houses, Senate and House of Representatives.
Right.
It's set up that way for us to make sure that we're deliberative in what we're doing. So the idea of rushing it or sending something down the pipe when everybody in the committee knows it needs more work, and the attitude that the Senate or the House, regardless, vice versa, That's the wrong attitude to have.
We were so upset
And
with that, especially
Many
when
of
it
us
was
have seen it
acknowledged.
up there.
Yes.
It's not the best way to actually govern. It's not the best way to put statutes out there.
You're creating laws that affect Vermont and Vermonters.
affect
Exactly. You know,
Potentially
you're in there.
640
Exactly.
plus or minus thousand people.
Yes.
We need to be looking at each other and saying, okay, what haven't we thought about?
Yes.
What are we missing here?
Right. Let's
Did
be
we miss something?
meticulous about this. This is
So
a law.
that we are convinced, we are absolutely certain that we've thought about all of the angles.
Right.
So that we are not coming back next session or in 2 sessions and saying,
Right, we
we
gotta
missed
fix
this.
it.
We missed it.
And
We've
that's what
caused
was
harm.
so frustrating, because there was extensive testimony and
Yeah.
the issue came to the table very brutally honest and raw, and everyone at that committee was tuned in. And then for them to drop the ball and not take the time to really go through it. And
Right.
so the 3 Republicans on that committee voted no, specifically for this reason.
Right.
And so anyway, long story short, sort of moving it forward, unfortunately, this is fairly typical in that committee. And what ended up happening there, just a little sidetrack from the article that Annette wrote, is what was so important for Chair James to then get to after she did not allow for this, let's really fix this problem before
Right.
we move it to the Senate for checking, is she picked up H740, which was the greenhouse gas inventory. And this was, again, it's a priority issue. This is where
Right.
you get into
Whose priority?
Exactly. This is where you get into agendas and ideology. And instead of having the opportunity and taking the time to fix an issue that was directly affecting Vermonters with this telecom siting,
Yeah.
we want the tech, we want it in the right place. We don't want to throw Vermonters into the volcano and have people have to be sacrificed, right?
Well, you brought up priorities.
Right.
Priorities of who? The voters?
Right.
The voters made a statement back in 24, in November of 24. They made a
Yes.
statement. Voters were upset. Among other things, it was taxes. It was public safety.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
It was school structure. It was school taxation.
But then there weren't
There's
enough
affordability.
of the sort of shift to move what we needed to happen.
And then we get to priorities within the committees.
Right.
And those priorities are not the same, unfortunately.
And that's where you have the question of, who is in there representing Vermonters and serving Vermonters and in the best interest of Vermonters versus the industries. And this is where we
Right.
ran into, we couldn't believe, we were really shocked that then what they moved into was this 740 greenhouse gas inventory bill, where, first of all, we have the data. Second of all, we have the lowest level of carbon emissions in the entire country. Like, is this really a priority is the question, right? And Matt Coda from the Vermont Fuel Dealers Association, I mean, he has ripped into this bill left and right, up and down of, this is privacy invasion. We've got the data you need. What are you doing? So that bill's in the Senate, but I sidetrack a little bit there. But back to this question of telecom siting, it moved to Senate Finance. And I was in there with Annette Smith because I work for her at Vermonters for a Clean Environment. And she was getting ready to testify. But prior to her testifying was Hunter Thompson, super nice, great guy. He's at the Public Service Department in telecommunications.
Okay.
So unfortunately, he said a quote about this bill 527 about telecom siting. And he said, quote, "Everybody is in favor of throwing one person in the volcano if it means the greater good. Everybody realizes that sacrifices must be made for the greater good. Nobody ever thinks that they're the one that's going to get thrown into the volcano, or they're the one that's going to have to make the sacrifice." And so I was sitting there with Annette and several others, and we were shocked because here we have the acknowledgement of, yeah, there's a risk, a major risk with these, health risk-wise, property value-wise with this, but okay, sorry, someone's got to go in the volcano. And it's like, is that really the way Vermont's going to do business?
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, we've dealt with this in my committee as well.
Mm-hmm.
What about the environmental justice aspect of this?
Exactly.
Okay, he made that statement, and I don't know why, but it just popped into my head. That's not going to go over well.
No, and this is RF radiation will have impacts on all biological life. Like,
Yeah.
this is known. We
yeah.
absolutely know this. And right now also, this Chair James and House Energy, they're looking at some of this tech again in a different bill. For the sake of time, I'll just get to, right now I've got 4 experts willing and ready to testify. We've got the head of Microsoft Canada, Frank Glegg, who will come down and testify. He just retired from there. He has Canadians for Safe Technology. He can come and testify about data security issues, privacy, and the health effects of this. You've got Dr. Paul Heroux from McGill University, expert in environmental health, who can come and testify. We've got David Carpenter, University of Albany. He can come and testify. So we've got these experts who can come and speak to this, and so basically,
and they're willing to testify
come
before the great.
and testify
and
about the effects.
Hopefully the committee will take the time.
Well, this
or
one
make
she's
the time
moving
and
through
do it.
too. I don't know if she's going to take more testimony. We're going to find out. But basically, it's important because we need this tech, but we can be really honest about where are we going to site a tower that's going to have multiple antennas on it, high levels of RF radiation.
Well, we have plenty of wide open forest land.
We have
know
places
that.
to put this properly. Exactly.
We do. We have areas where we know this stuff can get placed.
Yes. And we also have with the FCC, there's no monitoring and compliance with these levels. And then you look at Greece and France and countries in South America, and they're saying, oh, no, we're not going to allow this within, 2,000 or 2,500 feet from schools, from daycares. They've got dashboards showing, oh, here are the levels at this antenna station. Very, very honest.
You said 2,000 or 2,500 feet. It just came to mind.
Not 2,000, 2,500, right.
2,500,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Above 2,500 feet, what do you have to do?
Above
an elevation of 2,500 feet. You need an Act 250 permit.
So then you're getting into that part
So we
of it.
go horizontally, you don't need anything, but when you go altitude, then you need...
Like if you're talking about logging or something.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
or construction above it. So,
And that's a whole other can of worms. Next time we should talk Act 250.
Well,
yes.
the 2,500-foot benchmark, there is none really right now with respect to what you're
We
you're
don't
bringing
have
up.
setbacks.
Horizontally,
Right.
setbacks-wise.
Right.
Okay,
Now,
so
we
we
do
have them
need
for
we-
elevations. But,
We do need some setbacks for this. So long story short, it's just I think what a lot of people are looking for is let's just really have as honest and balanced testimony brought to the table so that you
let's
guys,
hear
the
both sides.
legislators, can
Yeah.
hear the whole story.
Yeah,
and then you can move forward in a smart way because you
That's
guys
how
are
it
making
should.
laws.
That's how it should work. So,
exactly.
all right. Well, I want to move, and we're going to need to cover this in this section or this segment, and then bring it into the next because we're running low on time here.
Yep.
But I wanted to do this because this is a bright spot. I think this is from Vermont Daily Chronicle again in the agriculture section. Vermont is New England's dairy powerhouse. Okay, some 27,000 jobs across New England are supported by the dairy industry, according to a new report from the Northeast Dairy Business Innovation Center. New England Dairy contributes $9.7 billion to the region's economy. Nearly half of New England's dairy farms are in Vermont.
Nice.
About 1/10 are in New Hampshire.
Wow.
Overall, there are 925 dairy farms in the region, some 500 fewer than in 2017. That is one of those things. That is a trend I would love to see us be able to reverse, Allison.
I know.
We need to start having more. We have farmland. No matter what rural community you find, no matter what rural town, I can guarantee you, and you could probably do the same, that at one time there was a dairy. Well, let's start restoring some dairies, and not just dairy, beef, all kinds of agricultural
Good
industry.
local food.
Why not?
Exactly.
Vermont saw the steepest drop at 40%, followed by Maine at 36%. Nevertheless, those two states anchor the industry in New England, with the majority of dairy farms and dairy plants concentrated there. And yet the average milk sales per farm in New England increased by 52% between 2017 and 2025. Where are we here? I'll get a little bit more. The dairy farm market is characterized by consolidation, the report states. While the number of dairy farms is rapidly declining in nearly all corners of the nation, milk output has largely been maintained as productivity gains, such as larger herds, feed optimization, genetic improvements, and precision and automation technologies, lift yield per cow. Small and mid-sized operations face extreme margin pressure from volatile costs for inputs like feed and energy, labor challenges, and intensive capital needs. So, despite all of that, the dairy industry is still a powerhouse in
And we should
Vermont.
come back to that because there's
Yes.
a bit more to say.
Yeah, we're going to need to come back, but we needed to point out a plus.
Yes.
Because we needed something bright to think about and highlight. So we shall return, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. My name is Mike Taglavia. My co-host is Alan Despathy. Before we get back into our discussion, we want to talk a little bit more about farms and the dairy industry. Right Side Up Radio at gmail.com if you'd like to drop us a line. And if for some reason you cannot catch us on the radio, WNTK.com, find that, click on the podcast button. You'll be able to scroll down and listen to any number of our shows. You can find us on Podbean. You can find us on 802 Scoop YouTube, 802 Scoop Facebook, and you can also find us on granitrock.com. And by all means, please, if you like the show, share it with a friend. So, Allison, we're talking about farms, mostly dairy farms, but there's evidence of farms all over the state. When even if you're walking through the woods, you find an old cellar hole, you're going to find the rock walls, you're going to find the stacked stone.
Right.
Whether there are large piles of large stones or small stones, you're going to know whether you were on pasture land or in what was at some point a tilled field.
Right.
We need to stop losing farms. We need to start gaining farms.
And support our farmers and our small farmers.
Yes,
There's a lot
small
of
and
young
large.
people. Exactly.
We do not care how large or how small.
Right, but this is food security, and it's our farmers who we love dearly.
Yes.
And there's a lot of young people. I noticed as a nutritionist, because I've got a practice I've had for 25 years now in St. Johnsbury, and I connect a lot of people to our local farmers for, raw milk and eggs and beef and veggies, etc. Just trying to keep those local connections going and support our farmers and Vermonters with good food. I mean, it's a win-win situation. And I think more and more, I'm definitely seeing a trend, and I hope it continues to grow with a lot of younger people really getting involved in starting small farms and raising small herds and doing micro dairies to have, access to good raw milk. All my kids, my family, we've always done raw milk from local farms, goat milk, cow milk. And I just hope that this is something, and I just want to also, like on a legislative standpoint, Mike, just to throw this at you as a representative, I just hope we can find and support legislation that makes this possible so that farmers can afford to do this and we can start building our farm base. Just a good small starts farm base and get that back going.
Well, yeah, and for farms these days to be successful, they have to be diversified.
Yes.
Okay, so going back to this article, it also finds diversification into value-added products and new markets will improve success.
And buy in right from the farmer. Exactly.
We know that.
We can, over in the Northeast Kingdom, you've got a lot of farms. You can go buy your meat, you can buy your eggs, you can buy your raw milk. They even do drops. They will drop it. So, and you just think about more and more seem to be connecting with schools as well. So I think there's a lot of potential there, and I hope we can keep it supported.
Yes, and that's probably a good segue into what we're going to cover again.
Yes, we have to keep going with it. It's a big deal.
Ladies and gentlemen, the book keeps getting thicker.
Act 181.
This is three different versions of S-325 as passed by the Senate, Draft 1.2, and now Draft 2.3.
Right.
So, with respect to that, we talked about diversification on farms, on farm accessory business, right?
Yes.
Well, if farming with all the added regulations, and that's one of the things hopefully soon, maybe next session, we can talk about regulation. What do we look at in the green books that need to be reassessed?
Yes.
Okay? Go back and look. We've lost, what did that article say? They've declined 500 farms we've lost since 2017.
Right.
How do we reverse that trend? I can guarantee you we reverse the trend by examining the green books and finding out what in the green books has been most detrimental to farms and on-farm accessory businesses. And when I say farms, I mean farm from the smallest all the way up to the largest. we need to have farms of all sizes and with diversified and specialized.
Right, and have a clear path for them to make this happen.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, and I wanted to bring up the S325, the amendment, okay, if you will, to Act 181. And I'm just going to just go quickly read through. This has been pared down. Right now, as it stands, it was 33 pages. The last draft is 24 pages.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. So.
And this includes, just for everyone, if they're not tuned in or hearing on this is the repeal of Tier 3 of Act 181.
And the road rule.
And
Yes.
the road rule, exactly.
And that's what I was getting into. On
Yes.
page 1, line number 8, section 1, 2024, acts and resolves, number 181, section 19, road rule jurisdiction is amended to read, section 19, deleted.
Nice. That's
Okay.
so good to hear.
Now, it's not passed out of committee yet.
Right.
So I don't want to get everybody's hopes up, but it is in the language. We
Steps
do have the
taken.
language.
Right.
Line number 11, section 2, 2024, acts and resolves, number 181, section 21, tiers is amended to read, section 21, deleted.
Nice.
Okay?
I'm going to say that again. And then hopefully you guys can get the vote out.
Yeah, like I said, still hasn't been voted out, but we have the language.
Right.
Page 1, line number 20, section 4, repeal, 2024, acts and resolves, number 181, section 22, tier 3 rulemaking is repealed. Okay?
It's a big deal.
Going to page 2, section 5, repeal, 2024, acts and resolves, number 181, section 34, tier 2 area report is repealed. Okay? Now, the area report versus mapping, two different things, but I believe we are taking steps in the right direction still. There's going to be another version, probably coming tomorrow in the morning or the afternoon, but I just wanted to put it out there for people to be able to hear. We've got a couple things that are becoming, that are going to need a lot more discussion. Flipping forward to page 7, ladies and gentlemen, and I know this is probably going to be a little bit tedious, but I just want to give you an idea what we're sitting and looking at when we're sitting in committee deliberating about this. Page 7, line 3, section 8, public outreach framework. Okay, I'm going to read this to you so you get an idea of the kind of wording we're dealing with to try to cover everything, hopefully,
Right.
our basis. We'll see. A, on or before January 15, 2027, the Land Use Review Board shall contract with a non-governmental organization to develop recommendations for a public engagement plan. The contractor shall have expertise in maintaining neutrality on policy and political issues, statewide, democratic public engagement processes, facilitation on public policy topics, and on a proven history of effective outreach in rural communities. That's a tall order.
Yes, and we have to
Okay.
hope that whoever is contracted knows what they're doing, does a good job if this goes through, because there's been
Yes.
a lot of compromise there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So section B of this, section 8, the purpose of the public engagement plan would be to gather statewide input from Vermonters to inform the General Assembly on, number 1, the risks of losing critical natural resources not already well protected by current land use policy, including agricultural soils, forest blocks, working lands, habitat connectors of statewide significant and headwaters. I included working lands. I wrote it down because I brought that up in committee. We'll see if it winds up in the
Excellent.
new language.
Thank you. Yes.
Number 2, equitable, efficient, and effective regulatory or non-regulatory tools to protect these critical natural resources. And we added, and hopefully, and private property rights. So we'll see if that wording and private property rights made it into the language, because we did bring it up.
Good.
The board shall submit the report with the recommended public engagement plan to the House Committee on Environment and the Senate Committee on Natural Resources and Energy. The thing that we need to include in this that I don't see is not just the risk of losing critical natural resources not already well protected by land use policy. What about the private property rights of the people who may be affected if someone does identify
Right.
a critical natural resource?
And that's where I
What
think
is that
if
gonna
they
do?
did that research and then they came back to you guys obviously would be creating policy. So that would, I mean, they should
Well,
have the conversation.
We should be, right.
Right, right.
So the other question mark here, not to bore you with the legal language here, on page 8, chapter 32, Joint Legislative Environmental Oversight Committee.
Lots of debate
Creation
around
of
this.
committee. Yeah. This one is one that I suggested we table till next session. But it looks like I might wind up getting overridden on that one. Let's see, line 4A, creation. There is created a joint legislative environmental oversight committee whose membership shall be appointed each biennial session of the General Assembly, meaning every 2 years there's going to be new people appointed, or could be. The committee shall exercise oversight over the Land Use Review Board and Agency of Natural Resources permitting processes. Composition of the committee. The committee shall be composed of 5 members, 3 members of the House of Representatives, who shall not all be from the same party, appointed by the Speaker of the House, and 2 members of the Senate, who shall not be of the same party, appointed by the Committee on Committees. Okay, this one, I would rather see the public outreach framework done and have the work started on that
Yes.
before we wind up with a joint legislative oversight committee.
Right.
My concern is the legislative oversight committee is going to overshadow some of the public input. But like I said, the public input needs to come from a lot of different people,
Yes.
including landowners, parcel owners, people, farmers, sugar makers,
Right.
people who have Act 250 stories to tell, like we did get some testimony in our environment committee,
Right.
so that we can assess what people have, the experiences people have had,
Right.
to, number one, streamline the process, make the process a whole lot less painful, because we've heard some horror stories,
Yep.
and those
Make sure
need to be
it's
addressed.
working. Right.
Are we going to send a message, because the message is already out there? Oh, you're going to need an Act 250 permit. What does that thought immediately? What thoughts come up in people's minds when someone is told you're probably going to need an Act 250 permit?
And what does
the
that
first-
actually mean?
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. Is their
Right.
first thought, oh, I'm not going to do that. So automatically nothing is done on
Right.
their land. And I'm not saying that every piece of land needs to have some sort of development.
Right.
What I'm saying is, does the landowner deserve to have that anxiety or fear right away, because there are so many stories out there of not just the cost of the Act 250 permit. That generally is the cheapest and the least
Of all the
painful
permits.
part of it.
Right.
Is there going to be, are you going to need a land use attorney? Are you going to need an engineer? Are you going to need more than one engineer? You're going to need a wetlands delineation. Are you going to need somebody to do hydrology?
Well,
All
this
these
is where,
things.
Mike, I think we really just need to get to, like, Act 250 education. Like,
Yeah.
what does Act 250 mean? What's it used for? What should it be used for?
And-
What are all the permits in the process?
And I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
When Act 181 was originally passed over the governor's veto, it was billed as Act 250 reform.
Right.
That all depends on what each individual person's idea of reform is.
Exactly.
Because reform for the municipalities with sewer and water who are looking to get these exemptions, and they're really not exemptions, they're delegations from the state that say, okay, if you're in a municipality A and you have
Zoning.
and bylaws that are more restrictive than the 250 process, then you will be taking on that responsibility,
Right.
and the state won't be
Involved.
getting as involved or involved at all. That's
Right.
basically what the process was meant to do. But Act 181, it's too wordy, it's too convoluted,
The
and that's why
trade-off was
people.
not good.
No,
right.
the
Bad
trade-off.
trade-off.
The trade-off is what made people angry.
Yes.
It was what made people distrustful,
Mm-hmm.
and we need to get by that and regain trust.
Yes.
And that comes with the right wording in S325.
Yes,
So,
what you guys are working on.
stay
So thank
tuned.
you. Yes.
So, and Allison, guess what? We
We're
burned
wrapped
through
up.
another show.
Well,
so,
thanks, Mike.
ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. Remember, stay safe, stay informed, listen to Right Side Up.